So as you can see here, we have a function that we name getPartnerFreeSlot, in which we will pass an input request with some parameters like the doctor email address, the start time, the end time. So this is getPartnerFreeSlot, yes. And that's it. So we will fetch, based on that, all the free slots for the period that was sent, the free slot of 30 minutes. So I impersonate here the call thanks to the application ID and the secret that I received, and I sent the call to graph.com. Simply like this. And same for the booking. I have a request as an input parameters. I get those parameters in the body, the doctor, the request body, and also the subjects, the locations, start time and end time. And then I call the graph API with all those parameters to send an invitation to the doctor. So this is my Azure function, and once that is done, I simply publish it. So I published to my tenant. Once published, we have this. So that's the tenant of the partner. Yeah. Let me take my tenant, which is this one. This is my tenant. I have an Azure function here. This is the Azure function that I created. When I publish it, you see two Azure functions are created on that one. What I'm providing, if you go here in the configuration, is the Azure application client ID, the secret. The secret is protected, so I put it in the keyboard. And also the tenant ID. So those are the few parameters that I'm providing. All the rest are out of the box, so they come when you create an Azure function. So with that in mind, let's go and run it. For example, getPartnerFreeSlot. Test and run. So this is the parameter that I'm providing in my body. Simply the doctor email address, and I run it. And here you see the response. So in less than 100 lines of code, we are able to impersonate that call and to use it in another tenant, except for the other one. Now, to use this in your Power Apps, you need to create a custom connector. So that's something that you can do quite easily if you use make.powerapps.com. Like this. Database, custom connector. Sorry. So you can create a custom connector like this. Let's call it booking API connector. So the creation of the connector is quite easy, but you need to have some parameters like this, the URL. So put here the host. Then we go to security, authentication. You can authenticate using an API key. And for the API key, you have here, you can create your own API key or you can use the default one. But let's go fast and do it without. And here you can create some actions. So that's where you can create a different action. For example, the first one we said that would be booking the get partner free slots. So that's the first Azure function. When you have that, you can define how the message will be called, and for that you need some value. You need to make, for instance, I use Postman to call my Azure functions, and to have all those values, the request, but also the response. So let me grab this request here, and so here I need to put the URL and import. Same for the response. So if you see here, automatically it gets everything else. So you have the doctor that is expected as string, and you have, if you go back, the body. So that is required in the post. So let's add a response. So I take a response from my Postman call. It's the same as what you have found. You have here. So when you do your test and run here, you can copy this response. You can copy all this here, so that it will pass it and create an object. So it is important for Power Apps because you will be able to get the fields that you want in your different steps. So the validation description is not defined. Yes, I know. So here I can create it, but I can also go here and see what will be the swagger of my custom connector. So I have the response and I have the request down here. Don't see it, but I'm sure there is something like that. Okay, so that's the request. So create my booking API connector. So do you have questions so far? Okay. So now let's move to PowerTalk. Here, first I will create the first string that fetch all the contacts from my database. So all the contacts that are here, basically, I fetch them. So they are here. I want to show the email address, the location, and the function. And when I have it, I can define what will be the next method. So you can imagine these Power Apps embedded in Teams or in a model-driven apps. So that's why I'm creating it large enough to cover all the screen. So here in the next button, what I'm doing, I'm calling simply my custom connector, so that you can also find here. You need to add it here. So let's looking for the new booking API connector. See, it is right here. And when you add it, you can basically find the two actions that you have created. Those actions are basically the functions. Parameters, so the input parameters that are set, that you can map with the fields here in your custom app. And with that, I'm creating a variable where I store all that to be able to use it in the next step. But I'm using also a variable for the selected email and the city, because I know that I can use that in the next screen. So when that's done, I navigate to the next screen. So the second screen, what do we have? So we have something like this, where I can basically show what is the confidence of that first slot, then the availability, and I can bring in all the value that I have in my graph result. So let's say, for example, I can bring the suggestion, but I can also bring the time. So let's say I want to display the start time. If I want to display the start time, I need to. So the start time will be this item dot meeting time slot dot start. So start. But this is not a string, so I need to write a little conversion, which is basically that time value and here I can say in English Okay. Start is not enough. Okay. That time. So here I have this, here I have this. Let's see what we have if I run it. Let's start with this and see. Okay. Is it working? Okay. So I write it twice. So you see, we have this availability if it's free or partially booked, and you have the type here. But I wrote it twice. I can put here the end time if I want. Okay. So that's the second stream. What we do next, we need to book the appointment. So for the doctor, so I create this frame where I can already put in the tool, follow-up, email. So that's the variable I store in the beginning. So that's good. That's the tool that I want. Okay, let me maybe delete all this. I'll put a message here. Subject and the tool. Okay. So first for the tool, I can just replace all these with the follow-up email. The subject, I can leave it. Subject here and the message. So when all of these are cheating, so what? When all of these are filled, we can simply define I use a raw template to create it. I was doing it during. Let's just remove this and create a new one. So, new screen, a blank one. So, in that one, I will add text input. So let's put it. This will be the tool. Email. Another one for the subject. Test input. So that will be our subject, name, subject, and that's the and I'll create the last one for the body. Okay. body. That was not a good one. Okay, so we have those three, and I want a button to send. Let's say, okay, I want to send or invite. So when we have this button, I will put some calls in it. So that button will basically do this. I'm taking the result, but here I have the custom API that I have. Yes, this one. And as a parameters, I need the email, the subject. So we say that was subject test input. Okay. The text here, that was body. And what else do we have? The location, follow-up location. I think I call it follow-up. City. Do I have location here? No, I don't have location. I need to save it. Start time, follow-up start. Okay.
It's follow city.
Follow. Oh, he was there.
Yeah, follow city.
Okay, good. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, so I have everything there, and I can even save the results of the meeting ID. And what I need to do here maybe is to have a label just to know if the result was a success or not. Let's see what you can put here. Okay, I will put here a value just to validate that we have an ID set. Okay. So I have this string that need to call from this button. So I like this, we can make it more easier. Okay, so let's see if we still have error here. Okay, no. Okay, great. So now let's test again. We have Alex. These are his free time slots. Let's maybe take this one. The input is taken here. So new version. And here we can say headache. And call invite. Your meeting request has been sent. So basically, if I go into this guy Outlook, I should have received an invitation. Meeting with new patients and the body that we have here, and he can accept or refuse. So that was it for this first demo. Any question? Yes?
Why haven't you opted to use MS Bookings?
MS Bookings, I never tried it on multi-tenants.
It should be possible just to have the contact center then book in from the interface of the MS Bookings page.
Okay, and it's works. It goes directly into the Outlook calendar.
Yeah, it books directly, because here I see it's an invite.
Yes.
Where you have to respond, and there it books it directly with, of course, also the notification and reminder emails.
Yeah, okay. Because the thing that I was facing with my customer is to not be too intrusive, because the partner doesn't want anyone to come and look the agenda of his people, because this can be like a private agenda of the doctor with other kind of meetings, and even server-side sync, that from Dynamics 365, which is able to synchronize those agendas, was not very GDPR wise. So I will have a look at MS Booking and see how far and what is possible.
Yeah, because if you display the booking page itself to the contact center itself, then it only displays the agenda itself and then the slots that are available.
Okay.
So it doesn't display the entire agenda as well with all of the possible GDPR
constraints. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good to know that. Any other questions? Yes.
Is there a certain reason why you created a custom connector to trigger